welcome. You are listening to the Just Love Them podcast. I'm your host, Cherie Best. Join me on a journey to find understanding and peace with those we love who have left their faith. Today, I have a special guest joining me, Kim Duncan. Kim is a passionate advocate for self love, forgiveness, and spiritual growth. She's been married for 34 years. She's the proud mother of three sons, three wonderful daughter in laws, and Mimi to six cherished grandchildren. Kim is a real person who has faced failures, setbacks, and struggles, making her journey of faith and forgiveness both relatable and inspiring. Over the past 35 years, Kim has owned and operated more than five businesses, empowering others through personal coaching, mentorship, and content creation. She has spoken to audiences ranging from 30 to 1,500 and has appeared on TV multiple times and written articles for the Forbes Business magazine. Her ability to create impactful programs and connect with individuals on a deep level has made her a sought-after speaker and mentor. With a heart for helping others find peace and purpose, Kim empowers women to unapologetically embrace their worth, deepen their connection with God, and heal relationships through understanding and grace. Drawing on her own life experiences, she shares practical insights and heartfelt wisdom to guide others toward a life of joy and acceptance. Kim's compassionate approach inspires listeners to let go of self-criticism, rediscover divine love, and extend kindness to themselves and those around them. Whether addressing the challenges of family dynamics, faith transition, or inner healing, her message resonates deeply with those seeking hope and renewal. Welcome, Kim.
Thank you, Cherie. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited to have you here. It's especially meaningful to me to have you here because you have been a mentor to me for years. I have just learned so much from you. So it just feels very, very special. You've changed my life in many ways. Didn't know I was going to get emotional about that, but you have. It's just so special to have you here today.
Oh, Cherie, thank you so much. I feel an honor to be able to be here today and to have you say that really means a lot to me. I know that I've been on this interesting mission for quite a number of years now, and I had no idea what God had in store for me. Like, if I could go back and if God could like open the door, like a little window, and say, okay, Kim, here's you 10 or 15 years down the road, I would not have believed him. I'd be like, are you kidding me? No way. And, here I am now, and I have been through, he's allowed me to go through this incredible life roller coaster so that I can experience what I've needed to experience so that I can be that advocate of healing and growth. And so, Cherie, that means a lot to me. Thank you from my
Mm.
heart.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I especially when I think of the heart shape, I really just really think of you because not only do you love heart shapes, but you are that's so much a part of who you are. Having been in your presence many times, you literally exude love. You love people.
Mm.
And I feel like especially your heart seems drawn to women. I don't know if that's true or not, but it feels that way to me. Maybe it's just because I feel like drawn to you. When I wondered what topic to ask you to speak on, because I know you could speak on virtually anything, and as I prayed about it, and you and I kind of talked back and forth, and I just felt really, really strongly that for you to speak on how to love and forgive yourself and how doing so allows you to love and forgive others. Because I feel like
Mm.
so many struggle to forgive themselves. They also struggle to forgive others. We're so good, especially women, at beating ourselves up, and when we do so, then it's hard to then have space to not do that to other people as well. And so I'm so grateful that you're willing to be here and to address this topic with us today. And I cannot wait to hear what you have to say.
Oh, goodness, Cherie. Well, loving myself, that is a big topic.
It is.
I'll start out with back in quite a number of years ago. I have this audio. audiobook that is called From Hate to Healing. And that is literally where I came from. I had this inner hate for myself. I did not like myself. It was so intense. I didn't tell people about it. Nobody really knew. You would not know it if you looked at me. I mean, I was very overweight at the time, however, just in this really tough place in my life. During that time, though, you would not have known the level of yuck inside of me because I kept that a secret. As many of us do as women, we keep that secret. We don't tell people how disgusted we are with ourselves or how angry we are with our choices and how dissatisfied we might be with our life in different areas. So that was like my own little personal secret. In fact, there was a time in my life, I've got so much to share in the subject. I like, where am I gonna go? And new things are popping in my mind. I didn't know if I was going to share. So I'll share this because I didn't know I was going to share this. There was a time when I'd get my husband off to work and my kids off to school. And I literally went back and I got in my bed and I curled up and I would just cry. And I would cry because I didn't like me. I didn't like what I was doing. I didn't like how I behaved. And I just was so dissatisfied with everything that was going on in that time in my life. I remember times when I would be there for literally the entire day, and I would finally get up right before my kids would come home, right before Kirk would come home, and nobody knew that little secret about me until I started sharing it from stages, of hundreds of women. I began to share that story and found out that I'm not alone. That was a big part of my self-discovery. And when I finally got to like admit that is that I got to admit and I got to, what do you call it when you confess? I got to confess that to the people that were close to me. And then I began to find that as I confessed that secret, I wasn't alone, and there were other people that could relate to me. And then there was also a time in my life when I remember thinking, "Oh, why am I alive? Like, why? What am I doing here?" I never actually got to the point where I saw myself like ending my life. I never went to that point, which, Kirk, if you've heard Kirk Duncan, my husband's story, he does share that. The first time I heard that story from him, that he actually had walked through his self going through that process. I was standing in the back of a room he was speaking in, and it was years later. I never, ever
Whoa.
knew that until I was literally listening to him tell that story from a stage. I just stood there and just tears going, oh my gosh. It took my breath away. Okay, so back to my story though. I remember thinking in my life, why am I here? What am I doing in this? I mean, I'm a terrible wife. I'm not a great mom. I scream at my kids. In fact, there was a time when I screamed so much. I remember when I had a bead of spit come out of my mouth and I saw it. And it was like one of those moments where it just have that, like, what am I doing? It was really tough. So I had a lot of anxiety and stress and upset inside of me that caused me to not like who I was. And then therefore, my coping mechanism has been and still is food. And so I would eat to take care of myself and I would eat to feel like, okay, I feel better. And then I gained weight and then that added more yuck and more stress on my life. And if that's who you are and where you've been, just know you're not alone. And there's a way out. There's a pathway out. And I remember the day when I decided I didn't want that life anymore. So I prayed and I just pleaded with God that He would help me find the way, find the resources to have the courage to step out of that hate for self. And slowly I began having little miracles showing up in my life that helped me to move from that hate to now what I say, I adore myself. And don't get me wrong, it's still a roller coaster. Even when you've gotten to this point of like, I love me, I love who I am. Like even this last 18 months have been a really tough time in my life. I've had some unique health situations that I'm working through and upgrading and so I'm on a roller coaster again and I've been doing some coping with food and I've brought on some pounds I wasn't wanting and yet I still can look in the mirror and say I love you. I adore you because I've learned a different way.
And you've learned to have unconditional love for yourself because when
Right.
you have conditional love, you're like, well, if I'm thin and beautiful and not screaming at my children, then I can love me. But if
Yes.
I'm heavier than I want to be and I'm maybe not always acting the way I want to act and I'm not doing what I want to
Yeah.
do, then I can't love me. That's conditional love. And what you're describing, and it's what we want to do for others too. We want to love them unconditionally, but we have to love ourselves unconditionally. And that's almost so much harder.
Yes, it is. Everything in our life is physical and mental and spiritual. We have both. And so that creates this circle that we have. One of my favorite friends is an essential oil from doTERRA called Forgive. And that is one of my favorite oils because I put that on my heart every day. And that not only physically helps to adjust my body chemistry, but it also, because of that action, it's a great reminder. And so you choose your action that you're going to do each day that will be like this moment of reminding yourself you love yourself. It could be just like for me, it's that oil that I put on. It could be you kneeling and saying your prayers, and that's the moment you recognize, okay, God, forgive me for not loving myself and the people around me. And I'm asking thou to support me to loving myself just even a little bit more today. It could be walking through a doorway. It could be every time you get in your car, but choose something that you can like link your brain to that will help you. Every time I do this, I'm going to say, Kim Duncan, I love you. I adore you. It could be looking in a mirror. It could be, there's so many options, but that is something I think is a really powerful way to begin adding that self-love on a daily basis. Pick something you do every day. Like maybe it's brushing your teeth or maybe it's taking your supplements or whatever. Just every day when you do that one thing, that is your, there's a name for it, Sheree.
Habit stacking.
Yes, your habit stacking. There's another name for it too, but anyway, yes, habit stacking. That's your habit. So whenever you do that one thing, you're going to remind yourself, I adore you. I love you. Thank you. I forgive you for I forgive Kim Duncan. I forgive you for everything from the past. And we can move forward with forgiveness and love. And as you do this, Sheree, when you do this, what will happen is when you have more capacity to love yourself, you then increase the capacity to love others. And that is the connection. When you're around people that are having a, you know, challenge in their life, or maybe you are around somebody that you have a difficult time being around, or they're doing things that just frustrate you or cause you to be anxious as a parent or a really good friend and you get anxious because they're like making choices that you weren't planning on. That is the time when you love yourself more, you then gain the capacity to have a deeper love for other people, a deeper compassion for other people. And so that is a critical piece. That's why we want to love self first, is because it then gives us that ability to love others. If we don't love ourselves first, it's like the airplane. You know the story. You get on the airplane, what do they tell you to do first?
Put on your oxygen mask.
Exactly. They don't say put on the oxygen mask of your kids first and then yours. Put on yours first. And then when you have that done, then you can focus on the people around you. Same thing with self-love. When we take care of ourselves first in this area, we then have that like higher level of capacity to love others.
That is a beautiful concept and so, so important. I love what you shared about picking something to habit stack in the morning to get that going. Do you have any other thoughts on that? What anything else that has helped you in your life or that you found to resonate for you?
Yeah. Oh, so, okay, definitely. When you are going through this process of learning to love self, when you don't have that established, the first go-to is prayer. You've got to go to your creator, your God, and ask for help. If you don't know how to do it, you plead and you say, "Please help me to find the way. Help me to find the way to love myself at a higher level." And as long as you keep your eyes and your ears open, you'll begin to see things around you. Like you referred to hearts, Cherie, and I want to share with you that in the very beginning, when I did not like myself, I despised the shape of a heart. I did not like hearts at all. I mean, I'd look at them, they just like I thought, why would somebody wear a shirt with a heart on it? Why would they wear a necklace? Why would they do that? And then as I began to love myself and I began to see a whole new way, and by the way, I first had to go from hate to, okay, now I just don't hate myself. Then it went to, okay, now I like myself. Now I like myself. And then to love and then to adore. And it was a process. It didn't just happen overnight, but it started with my prayers. And then what I found is as I kept working on this every single day, what I would notice is I started noticing hearts. And that became my symbol. If you know me, I mean, I have hearts everywhere. I give them out to people. I love hearts. I love having them in my space. I mean, people text me. It's become such a ritual for me. Literally, people text me hearts. They give me gifts. In fact, Cherie, you gave me this beautiful heart necklace, and they just know how much I love hearts. I love that because I see them everywhere now. And every time I see a heart, whether it's a like a little drops of water on the cement, or a leaf that looks like a heart, or a rock that looks like a heart, or an actual something that was created to be an actual heart, in my mind, the second I see that, that's my next little moment to recognize that is my love note from God.
Oh, that is
That's
so
that's a
wonderful.
postcard from God. And I treasure those moments. And so whenever I see a heart, that tells me, oh, God loves me. That's my postcard from God today. And so that really helps me to just continue to reaffirm to myself that He's thinking about me. And when He's thinking about me, then I have that ability to just have that higher connection and love for myself.
That really speaks to me. I was thinking while you were talking about, I think this was something that actually your husband Kirk did, an exercise he did with us one time where we were to keep a piece of paper in our pocket and write down negative thoughts that came into our mind. And then as that happened, then to write like two opposites of that.
Mhm.
And I remember how shockingly eye-opening that was for me. I had no idea how much I was beating myself up, how much my brain was beating myself up, or I don't know where the thoughts are coming through, my mom's voice or, some old boyfriend's voice or Satan's voice. I don't know. Probably multiple places, but I had no idea how mean I was to myself. And when I was able to stop and catch those thoughts, I was horrified. Like I wouldn't say that to anybody, any of those things. But I think we do it all the time and we have no idea. We just think it's normal. We're not even questioning it. We're just accepting it as fact. And those are thoughts are meant to help us hate ourselves, not help us love ourselves.
Absolutely. I remember the same time, Cherie, doing the same thing and catching myself saying those words to myself. And then, like you mentioned, what I love about what Kirk shares is that you catch that word and then you immediately train yourself to go, okay, fire that thought or fire that person wherever it's coming from. You're fired. And then he trains us to then think two positive thoughts that are the opposite of that negative. So, like, let's say, oh my gosh, I'm so fat. You would say, oh, excuse me, I am not fat. That is not a truth about me. And then you say, I am gorgeous, I am beautiful, and I love myself.
Sometimes even I have found myself arguing as because I've done that exercise a lot over the years. Every so often, I have to go back and do it again because I find that I fall back into that habit where those negative thoughts just keep coming back to me. And sometimes my brain will even argue with me. Like if I say, I'm not fat, my brain will go, yes, you are.
Right,
And so then I have to
right,
find something that my brain will accept. Like, I have a body and I have a healthy body and I am so blessed. And I can say that and my brain can't argue.
right, right. Okay, so here's another great example. Like, if you're struggling somehow with your body image, one of the things that you can do, because that is one of the top things that we as women struggle with is body image. You
Mhm.
can say, oh my goodness, I have the most beautiful knees, I have the greatest elbows, and they move. And look at my neck. I can turn my neck from left to right. Start, if you can't say I'm gorgeous and I'm beautiful quite yet, you can say, I can hear, I can see, and pick and choose things that you can. I breathe every day. Every day my heart beats and keeps me alive. And so those are things that you can say and they're truths. If you can't quite say I'm beautiful, I'm gorgeous, and look in the mirror and I say I adore myself, choose the things that you can say about yourself. And so this is going to build self-love for you and your ability and how you manage those thoughts. And then you'll get trained to where you'll because right now you might even be in the unaware state where you don't even recognize that you're saying the negative thoughts because they're rampant. And you might be looking in the mirror going, oh my gosh, da, 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 da. And you don't even know that you do that. And then here you are, you're learning this new thing and you're learning this new principle that we're teaching. And then you catch yourself going, oh my goodness, I said that. I did it. What Cherie and Kim were talking about, I just did it. And now that you're aware, you now have the power to do something different. And that is where you're going to see yourself in the next little while. So as you're becoming aware and making these adjustments, if you can't quite say, I love myself, I adore myself, just start with something you can say. Start where you can. And as you layer that love, and this can go for other people too. I remember there was a person in my life that I was having a very difficult time being around, like super difficult. I just didn't like, and they were a close relationship, and I was like, how am I going to get over this? I mean, like, I'd look at them, I didn't like the way they just walked. I didn't like their actions, their mannerisms. It just bugged me. And so, as I was praying and asking for this support and saying, God, help me to love this person, I was reminded, Kim, do exactly what you did when we went through the process with you. Find one thing. And so I'm like, okay, this person breathes. They breathe. They breathe air. Their heart beats, and it was a little bit more of a distant family member. So I was able to think about how they take care of another family member. Oh, and then I'm like, okay, they take care of that family member. They love that family member. And so I just began building on that. And that helped me to then build that love for them when I was struggling so hard to love that person and to accept them with what the choices they were making and the challenges they were bringing up in my life. I began to accept them more because of that principle that I learned. I use the same principle of how to love myself, and that helped me with the people that are around me that I had a challenge with. I have another really great idea, Cherie, that I want to share. If you are struggling with a person in your life that you cannot talk to because maybe whatever's gone on is really difficult, or maybe they're going through something really difficult in their life and you are not in a place to have a really tough conversation with them. I want to share something that Kirk and I do, and you may have heard this before, but it has been literally incredible in our life. It's something we teach at many of our classes, and we teach in our mentoring and coaching that we do. Let's say you have somebody who's maybe they've left you and you don't even know where they're at. You can't even talk to them. Maybe they've chosen a path that you don't agree with, but you can't have that conversation with them. What you can do is there's two ways to do this. You can have a journal that you literally title with their name on it. And in that journal, you can begin to have conversations with that person. And you might want to have a conversation with, dear so and so, I know right now you're going through da 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 da. And it's really hard for me to watch you go through da 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 da. And then as you write in that journal, each time you write, you just keep adding to it and adding to your letters, adding to your thoughts. You may need to do some forgiveness in that journal. You may need to do some really tough expressing of yourself in that journal. Like, I really am not happy with the actions you're doing right now. I'm really not happy with the way you're destroying your life, whatever that looks like. And then at the end of that writing to that person, if you had to do it like a kind of a vent session with them, you may want to say, Heavenly Father, please forgive me for what I had to say. I needed to get this off my chest. And it's a way to have a conversation without having it needing to be to their face. That has been an incredible gift that it was an idea that Kirk shared, and I was like, oh, this is brilliant. And then you can actually turn right around because our spirits are brilliant. They're amazing and they're from God. You could turn right around and you could say, if you're typing or writing, I would recommend actually writing if you can versus typing because there's something that happens when we actually write. Once you get done with that letter to that person, you can literally turn around and write back from their spirit. And you may hear little things that they're going to say to you. Now, this is an option. It's not something you have to do, but you can leave that door open if it works. Our spirits are so incredibly powerful and in tune that you may actually get a message. You may not, but you may get a message. And I think that is really a profound way to begin a healing journey with somebody that you're having a difficult time with. Second option to doing this is maybe you don't have a journal yet. What you can do, or maybe this needs to just be a quick experience. Maybe it's not like a long-term journaling experience. It's like you had a situation with somebody and you need to have a conversation, and you know if you're going to go to that person with that conversation, it is not going to turn out well. This is what I call burn off the hot. Burn off the hot. So I will literally get in my car. I put their spirit sitting next to me in the passenger. I drive somewhere. I stop the car and I have a full-on conversation with them. I started out with prayer. I ask for, I ask for angels to surround me. I ask for the Lord's support in this. And then I say, is it okay for me to just have a venting session? And I vent, get everything off my chest. And then I close that with a prayer. I ask forgiveness for myself. I ask forgiveness for them. I forgive them. And then if I end up having an actual one-on-one conversation, I've already burned off the hot. And that allows me to have a much more clear conversation that is not going to most likely not going to turn out in a bad way because I've burned off the hot.
Mhm.
You may need to do a few of those before you have those conversations. Maybe you did it once and now you're driving to a place and you're going to be with them. Do it again and just make sure you've gotten rid of all that hot energy. So when you have and you've done the forgiveness part, that's a key in forgiving yourself, forgiving them, and asking God for forgiveness. It's a trio: yourself, them, and God. Do that forgiveness process, and then when you actually have that conversation, it will have a completely different impact on the situation.
Wow. I've tried the one in the car. I've done that one before, which I learned from you. Thank you. And I can testify that it is very powerful. I like what you said about that you might need to do it more than once because I had to learn that the hard way. Where I'm like, okay, I did it. All the hot should be gone. And I had the conversation with the person, and it was a disaster. And I wasn't really done. I really wasn't done. And I needed to have that conversation more than once. So I love that you said that. And the journal idea, well, I really like just got emotional during that part because I've never heard that idea before. And I just think it's brilliant and could be so helpful, especially in healing like a long term or a long ago relationship or something that's ongoing. Just, oh, what a beautiful idea.
One of the things I didn't say is this is also really a great technique if somebody has passed away and you don't get a chance to have a one-on-one conversation with them. This is really helps when you have a person that's passed away in your life and you still are working on that relationship. Either one of those work great.
I'm so glad you brought that up because I did an episode recently on forgiveness. And in that episode, I talk about how, as I'm going through my like list of people that I need to forgive, that my grandma popped up. Well, my grandma is on the other side. She's
Mhm.
no longer with us. And like, how would you ever go through that? You can't, it's like what you said, you can't talk to them. And she's not somebody I could have talked to even if she was still here. And so I love that you can do that letter even if that person's no longer on this earth.
There's one more thing that's really important in this letter process I want to address. When you're having this forgiveness experience with someone, I highly recommend, because I've been in the shoes of the person that needed to write a letter to me, and they wrote a letter and they sent me the email.
Oh,
And it was tough. It was really tough, especially because a lot of things in the letter were from years ago. And it was really difficult to process. I'm going to suggest highly that if you have a situation with a person, that you don't send a letter. The principle of what I'm teaching here is not to write the letter and send it. This is for you only. And this might be something that you write a really yucky letter, you tear it and you shred it. Or maybe it doesn't need to be shredded. Maybe you still need to work on some of those things because you need to go back and read some of the things you wrote. I recommend not sending it. Don't send a letter. The only time I give myself permission to have an actual conversation with a person, like you have that hot energy and then you desire to have a conversation with them, if it's been within a very short amount of time and the issue is still at hand and it's causing a challenge between the two of you. If the person is caught off guard, it is going to create a landslide in their life. If we're talking about things that happened a year or two or 5 or 10 years ago, and you're all of a sudden writing them a letter saying, "Hey, I just wanted to let you know that I forgive you for what you did 10 years ago," it is going to come out very shocking to them. And it's going to put them in a place where you may not want to do that. They may have moved so far beyond this, and then knowing that you've been holding on to it for 10 years may come across as a shock to them.
yeah. I think that's extremely good advice. I remember you teaching me that as well. I think you even described it as like it's toxic and it's like hazardous waste. Don't send it to anybody. Don't show it to anybody. It's just for you and even maybe just get rid of it. Yeah.
And then if you do need to have a conversation or send a letter, you write the letter out. You say, Heavenly Father, please tell me, is there anything I need to take out of this? Or you, before you go to have this, one-on-one conversation with the person, am I ready? And you listen to the spirit and you listen hard and make sure that you are good and ready, or you're going to have a disaster on your hands. And we don't want that. There's no reason for a disaster. We can have absolutely incredibly beautiful relationships with the people that we love and that we're close to if we just ask and plead with the Lord to be with us on this journey.
That is exactly the right thing because we're not trying to open wounds. We're trying to heal them. We're
Yes.
trying to love people.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Kim, why don't you take a minute and just share? I know you have something that you wanted to
Yes,
share,
I
and I
do.
just would love for you to talk about that.
Okay, I have something for you I would love to offer you as a gift. This is something that will help you on your journey to healing your relationships with not only yourself, but those people that you love. And also it will help you to really become connected to your higher power, your God, your Heavenly Father, your Lord. When I began to do this, this is what made the most difference for me. So I have a place where you can go. Where what that is Duncan, Duncan dot link, LINK / Kim. So it's Duncan.link / Kim. Go there. I will have a little instruction video with a PDF and a little routine list. Every day I start my day out with a routine. And that routine is my habit stacking. It's a routine of, saying my prayer, my scriptures, and some other really yummy good things there. So go there, get my spiritual daily morning routine from that link. And then I will also have a PDF that will explain to you a little bit more detail in how I utilize each one of those things on the list. You'll be able to print the card that has everything on it. And then I'll have another card for you that you can create your own. You might have your own way to do this. I'll have a one that I use, and then I'll have one that you can actually create yourself. And then I will have a PDF that explains and a video that will explain all of these details so that you'll know exactly how to put together your spiritual morning routine. And that is my gift to you.
Oh, that sounds like a beautiful gift. I can't wait to check that out. Thank you so much for that. And Kim, I can't imagine having a better guest right before Valentine's Day and talking about hearts, loving yourself and loving others than you. Such a perfect guest
Thank
right before
you.
Valentine's Day. There's so much support here for you as you are working to understand and to find peace in your own heart and with the people that you love who are making different choices than you are. In addition to this podcast, where we seek to bring you the best stories, the best people, and the best information, there's also the private Facebook group, the Just Love Them Facebook group. It's a place where you can ask questions, you can link arms with people who are in your similar situation and just have that kind of support. In addition to that, you can message me on Facebook. You can sign up for a free mini session. There's just so much support there for you. If it's okay, I'd like to ask for a little bit of support in return. If you would rate and review this podcast episode, that would be awesome. Or if you're listening on YouTube, then I think the correct terminology is subscribe, like, and comment. Any of that is awesome. And then, as always, please share this episode with somebody that you know who could use the support. Listeners, we love you. Please join us again next time for another episode of Just Love Them.